Right, so this is problem 11.1.17, and they're asking us to give the exact and the approximate solutions to 3 decimal places. So they actually want both types of solutions. So we're solving here, and if we want to solve, and x is on the inside here of the parentheses, and the parentheses have a square on them, then we can use a square root to remove this square. But we're going to need to take the square root of both sides. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And on this side, the x minus 2/3 is going to come out, and that's because we're taking the square root of something squared. And then on this side, we're going to actually end up with a plus or minus the square root of 5 over the square root of 3. Now, the reason I'm writing it that way is because when we take the square root of a fraction like this, it's actually the square root of both the top and the bottom. And you can continue to write it that way, but we're going to eventually want to rationalize the denominator here. And so I'm writing it this way so we can distinctly see what radical we have in the denominator. Okay. The plus or minus sign is coming from the fact that whenever we use the square root as an operator, then we introduce the possibility that there could be 2 different solutions here. All right, so we're going to continue to solve, so that means adding 2/3 to both sides. And so we're looking at x is equal to 2/3 plus or minus the square root of 5 over the square root of 3. Okay, and as I was just mentioning, we don't typically leave radicals in the denominator, and so we want to go ahead and rationalize the denominator here. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. Now the reason I'm multiplying by the square root of 3 is because the goal here is to get this to not have a radical in it. So what we really want is the square root of something squared. And if I just have a 3 in the bottom, I see that if I can get it to this position where I've got the square root of 3 squared, then this 3 will come out and the radical has been simplified, and so we no longer have a radical in the bottom. So that's why I'm doing this here. I'm really just effectively multiplying by the equivalent of 1 right there. So this becomes x is equal to 2 over 3 plus or minus the square root of 15. And this is over now the square root of 3 squared, or the square root of 9, however you want to think about it, but it becomes a 3 when we simplify it. All right, so this right here, there's 2 solutions here. These are the exact solutions. And the 2 solutions are based on the plus or minus. So we have 2/3 plus the radical 15 over 3 and 2/3 minus that. Okay, and they did also want the approximate solution. So what you're going to do with the approximate solutions is use your calculator to just estimate the square root of 15. And they said to 3 decimal places, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to plug in 15 here and take the square root, and I get 3.8729, so it's going to be 3.873. So this will be 2/3 plus or minus 3.873 over 3. Okay. All right, so this actually becomes 2 different things that we want to calculate. So it's going to become 2 plus 3.873 all over 3. And I'm just writing it over a common denominator here because we have a common denominator. And then same thing here, 2 minus 3.873 over 3. And if you just do those calculations, so we have 5.873 in the top and divide by 3, then we get 1.95, and I'm going to round that to 8. So this would be one of the approximate solutions. And then we've got 1.873, and it's negative, divide by 3. So we're going to get a negative 0.624 for the other approximate solution. Okay, and that would be it in this problem.